is we're going to get into the book straight away because I feel like I'm taking too long to read this book. So let's get into it. Chapter 1. Seeing as you're literally reading my book, I feel that I should probably take this opportunity to tell you a bit about myself. Just so you know, I'm not an absolute serial killer. In fairness, if I was a serial killer, I probably wouldn't tell you about it due to the whole prison thing. So I guess you're just going to have to take my word for it. I suppose my first task is to make you trust me on a level that goes beyond just the way I look. And the best way to do that is to give you a bit more of an idea of who I am and the journey I've been on to get here. On a side note, when someone uses the word journey to describe anything other than actual journey, like driving to Aldi for example, it makes me want to punch them in the face. But as I'm writing an actual book, I'm going to have to write dorky stuff like that from time to time. So it's about that. Anyway, I think that in order to show you what I've learned, how it's helped me, and how it could help you too, I should give you a bit of my backstory. Now, unless you're an absolute super fan, aka a weirdo, you might not be waiting with bated breath for my entire life story. But don't worry, nearly everything I'm going to mention here will lead back to specific learnings, which will help to anchor my fitness and nutrition philosophies. Getting to know what I've put my body and stomach through will hopefully provide some useful context for all ideas I'm about to share with you, because I am my best case study. So let's start from the very beginning. I have always been a sporty person. As a kid, I am massively active, and my elder sister and I would spend our evenings playing with other kids on the road until we were dragged in for dinner. When I say playing, I mean participating in a series of highly competitive races against one another, whereby anything went: bikes, rollerblades, skateboards. It was an absolute free-for-all, and when I say participating, I mean desperately trying to win every single race, as if our lives depended on it. Actually, on reflection, that was probably just me. You see, for as long as I can remember, I've always been desperate to be the best at everything I do. Whether I was winning a race with my mates or eating my cereal first, literally anything I was involved in became a competition. I'm just going to check the video here. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. It's all good. Once my younger brother, I have two, but the nearest one in age to me, was old enough to get involved, he became my new training partner, and we'd do everything together. I remember walking to the nearest parks every day after school to play football with the other kids, and even at that age, desperately wanting to improve and being obsessed by the process of getting better at stuff. By the time I was 11, my family had moved down from London to Kent at this point, and I was starting my third stint at new primary school. I was already the quickest in my school year and would regularly win the weekly bicep showdown. In hindsight, this was fairly weird, but it essentially involved a few of the bigger, stronger boys comparing the size of their biceps. What? And the winner of the contest being decided by the nearest dinner lady. What the hell is going on with you, Matt? You need to get some help, mate. Like, flexing your biceps with other little boys, that is disgusting. I understand that he's also young in this story, but it's still bloody weird. It has to be said that at the time, I took a huge amount of pride in this title. Also, right, I'm gonna just hold on. Why are the dinner ladies rating the boys' muscles? They better not be. Lock them away. Anyway, I'd say I took football seriously. I think, like a lot of teenagers, I had some serious failings when it came to my motivation. At the time, I loved to stay within my comfort zone and could easily intimidated. I also easily can be intimidated by anything outside of that. I had all my mates around me at school and in my club, and just didn't ever feel to pushing myself beyond that and meeting new people. Some of that was laziness, but I do think a lot of kids hold themselves back from opportunities because they lack the confidence to take the next step. By the time I reached 15, I'd also started doing athletics. It all began with inter-house tournament where they were short on people, okay, this is about athletics. I was getting a bit confused. Short on people, I ended up being drafted to do the long and triple jumps. I was quick, but I'd never really jumped before, so I was surprised when doing that first competition. I broke the school triple jump record, which had stood for over 20 years. It was a bit of a wake-up call, really. It's a wake-up call. And I remember everyone saying it was a big deal, but I still considered myself a footballer and had big aspirations to play professionally. It was while I was in sixth form that my focus began to transition to athletics. I was still playing football, but as I started training for the triple jump at the local athletics centre in Ashford, I picked up by my coach, who helped me put together my first proper training plan. I actually remember rushing home to tell my parents that I'd given my phone number to an old man I'd met at the track, and being confused when they weren't immediately delighted for me. At the same time, I was on a run of football-related injuries, which culminated in an ankle sprain brought by a game we used to play at school. It essentially involved seeing who could jump and land the highest step, and being a pathologically competitive individual, I decided it was a good idea to jump an entire flight of stairs, which inevitably ended bad. Unfortunately, I was due to travel to the US on the school football tour a few weeks later, and so ended up playing most of the games using only my weaker but non-injured left foot. The schoolie went to US to play. This was the final straw for me. I can remember being constantly frustrated that I was never fully fit, and it got to the point where I realised I was going to have to choose between athletics and football, and in the end, triple jump won. What I liked most about the athletics, aside from the fact entirely dependent on me, noted that I was quite good at it. Aside from the fact that I was quite good at it, I started reading the sentence below, sorry about that, was that the outcome was almost entirely dependent on me. If I trained hard, I would do better. If I didn't, I wouldn't improve. But that's the same with football. I can remember sometimes, even if I'd play really well, I love my mates, but we weren't a brilliant team. I'm not saying that I don't like the camaraderie of sports teams, because I really do, but there's something deeply satisfying about knowing that you are put in as an individual. You'll get back. When I decide to do something, I'll typically do it wholeheartedly, and if it's sport related, I'll train as much as possible, as much as I need to get better. If I'm not getting better, or at least in a position to control whether or not I can get better, I'm not interested. I like knowing that I'm in control. I've had in both my sporting and subsequent careers have stemmed from my abnormal obsession with tracking progress. I'm basically a sporty Rayman. Whether it's seeing that progress in numerical sense, watching results get better and better, or seeing growth happen physically, it has always been a huge driver for me. As kids, my younger brother and I would play the Championship Manager computer game for hours on end. During the school holidays, it wasn't uncommon for us to put in a 12-hour shift. I love working on a long-term strategy and seeing my team grow and get promoted. It was exactly the same as with athletics, and it's one of the things that made it perfect for me. I had training diaries for absolutely everything, and I wrote down every single tiny detail, whether it was how far I jumped, how fast I ran, or how much I lifted. I would constantly monitor and analyse my progress, making sure I was moving forward, doing more and getting bigger and better. I still get huge amounts of satisfaction and gratification from seeing my progress. Now, I think that really links to what I'm doing on social media too, where there's so much data for me to look at and work out ways to improve. Right, I'm going to end it there. I will pick this up very, very soon, and hopefully we can carry on. Have a nice night. See you later.